In the course of human events. In the course of human events, I have, is that a beginning of something? Hi, my name is Father Mike Schmitz, and this is Ascension Presents. So, in the course of human events, there are times when people have conflicts with one another. One of the things I will talk to people about is how critical it is to be really good at solving problems with another person. Like, so if it, for example, in a marriage relationship, the number one thing I would say that couples can get really, really good at is making decisions together. Like, that's just, I just think that's like top of the list. Making decisions together is a really, really helpful thing for any couple to have, or even just any relationships to have. It doesn't have to be a romantic couple, but just even good friends, a family, to be able to say, how do we make decisions together? Knowing that we're all different. Okay, all that being said, one of the pieces that is really important when it comes to making decisions, when it comes to having that communication, is being able to distinguish the difference between a principle and a preference. You might have been there in the past, right? Where here's someone and they're making a very, very key argument for something that's absolutely necessary. Like, you are doing this thing wrong, or this is absolutely incorrect. And you have to say, okay, wait, is that a principle? Like, is that a truth? Like, it's a worldview thing? Or is that simply your preference? So we have the silliest examples, but silly examples come from the fact that we have silly lives sometimes, and we're silly people sometimes. My dad, for years, my mom would tell him that you're stacking the dishwasher wrong. Like, you're putting the dishes in the dishwasher the wrong way. And he's like, how can I put the dishes in the dishwasher the wrong way? They're all like in the slots for plates, and this is the slots for bowls, and this is where you put the silverware. How can I stack them wrong? She's like, no, you're doing it wrong. Now, at the time, it was more like, okay, is he doing it wrong? Or do you just have your way of doing it, right? That's your preference. Now, here's the kind of the little end of the story. Turns out that at one point, the dishwashing repairman came by, and he was like, oh, no. This is designed to stack them like this. There is a right way, apparently, to stack some dishwashers. Who knew? My mom, apparently. The difference was this a preference? Like my dad saying to my mom, do you just like it this way? And there's a principle, the dishwasher expert saying, oh, this dishwasher is designed to wash them better like this. Principle. And when it comes down to it, a lot of times in a lot of conflicts between a lot of couples, they're not clear on, is this a preference or is this a principle? Sometimes, in fact, what we do is we end up treating our preferences like they're principles. For example, I don't want to go to McDonald's. Why? Well, because my preference is to go somewhere else. Okay, fine. But I don't make it about my preference. I make it about a principle, because I'm going to say, I don't want to go to McDonald's. Why? Because I watched a documentary where they don't even have real meat in their burgers or something like this. Well, is that true? Because I don't think they'd be able to get away with that. People, I guess you can comment below on this kind of thing. But what I'm pointing out is not McDonald's. What I'm pointing out is the concept of someone who actually has a preference. I just really don't want to go to McDonald's, but I'm gonna make it a principle. So sometimes in our conflicts with each other, or our problems that we need to resolve, or decisions that we need to make with each other, we can pawn off our preferences as principles. Now that is ultimately, that might win an argument here and there, but that does not help a relationship, and it does not help us to move forward. Why? Because when it comes to being able to identify preferences and principles, we respond to them differently. Here's what I mean. If I have a principle, and we have conflicting kind of views on what's the next decision, how to solve this problem, all that kind of stuff. If it's based off a principle, then what I'm called to do is share the truth, right? My call in that moment is, how do I communicate the truth? Because it's a principle. It's a principle. So, hey, we need to go to Mass on Sunday. Well, yeah, but I'm tired and stuff. Okay, but this isn't just my preference. I know you like your Catholic church, but I like somewhere else. Okay, but this is a principle, and the principle is that we must worship the Lord in the way He asks us to worship Him, or commands us to worship Him. Do this in memory of me, in the Catholic Church, at the Catholic Mass every single Sunday. So that's actually a principle. And so my task, again, is not saying, oh, hey, just do this for me. My task is to reveal the truth to you, the full truth of this. Okay, that makes sense? When it's a preference, if I can clearly identify the preference, there's a different response. So let's give another example. Let's make it opposite. Person wants to lead me to truth. And now I'm not giving them I'm not doing something for them. if I recognize the new principle. Like I'm not doing a favor for them if I recognize like, oh yeah, that is true that the Lord is calling us to worship him every Sunday at Mass. Okay, that's just acknowledging the principle. So now when I go to Mass with you, it's not like I'm doing this thing for you. It's because I'm doing this because it's the truth. It's because it's the right thing to do, right? Okay. But when it's your preference, so okay, here's St. Andrews and here's St. Francis. Well, which church we go to? And someone says, well, I like this one more. It's just your preference. Now here's what I can do as a friend. Here's what you could do as someone who's like the person who loves this person, is I will give you your preference because of love. See, this is the big, big difference. I might prefer St. Andrews, you prefer St. Francis, and I'd say, but if that's what you want, then I can give you the preference. I don't say, but no, at St. Francis, it's all terrible. Like, no, I'm not gonna make a principle out of what is merely a preference. If it's a principle, merely lead someone to truth. If it's a preference, now I have the choice, and that choice is to love them. I can actually love them by letting them have their preference. And this is one of those things that when it comes to problem solving, when it comes to making decisions together, when it comes to like really loving each other really well, love looks like this in maybe not every situation, okay? So I obviously can't think of every possible scenario, but love looks like this. When it's a principle, love looks like leading them to the truth of the principle. When it's a preference, love can often look like giving them their preference. Does that make sense? That obviously it's not violating, good, it's not choosing evil, but love can often look like giving them their preference. And I know a lot of couples who do that really, really well. They when they talk about principles, they talk about truth and like, help you see the truth. Please help me see the truth. When it comes to preferences, they die to themselves out of love for the other, or the other one dies to themselves out of love for them. And Jackie and Bobby Angel, they have a channel on this channel, whatever. They have a show. What do you call it? I don't know. They also wrote a book, and I talked about this before. Maybe I talked about it before. I think I don't know. Pray, Decide, and Don't Worry. They wrote this book about discernment, about making decisions, about helping each other grow. It's not just about becoming a priest or becoming a nun. It's about okay, what is it to actually decide based off of the truth, based off of our call, based off of love. Jackie and Bobby Angel. And with Father Mike Schmitz, that's me, because I also helped a little bit with this book. I just want to plug this because it's printed by Ascension, who also makes Ascension Presents. And if anyone knows a little bit about problem solving and about loving each other well and about making decisions together really well, Jackie and Bobby and some of their gifts, their secrets for that, their tricks for that, I don't know what the word is, they put in the book. Making that difference and that distinction between principles and preferences can save so much, because it means our response in love is to lead someone to truth. Our response in love is to give them what they're asking because we love them. Right? Makes sense? Anyways, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. You might be like, Father, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. You don't just give people what they want because they want it, because you love them. Like, okay, let me know. I don't know. Anyways, for all of us here at Ascension Presents, who also publish books, my name's Father Mike. God bless.